So in this Chat GPT 101 training, I kind of want to give you a high level view, let's say of the top 20 features and aspects of Chat GPT, just to make sure you understand all that is possible. If you want more details of any of these specific features, you can either talk to Chat GPT or you can YouTube it, or we may provide other trainings or one-on-one. Because when you really get down to the nitty-gritty, you don't need to use everything, but when it comes to your job or your specific work, you want to make sure that you're accessing the ideal feature for your specific job, which in our AI fluency challenge, which is a 4 week process of learning and increasing your fluency, is when you can get more into the details that matter for your work. But in this training, I just want to make sure you understand some of the biggest, most valuable features that you can use that make ChatGPT more effective. So let's kind of get started. The first three things we want to cover is when you actually start typing into ChatGPT and asking it a question, what mode are you using? And there's three different modes. If you look at the top left of the screen, there is a little drop down here, which varies. Right now, we're in 5.1, and you've got auto mode, instant mode, or thinking mode. And by default, auto is going to be selected. And if your question is simple, it's going to always go into instant to give you a fast answer. But there's another option called thinking. So I want to highly encourage you, if you've never tried the thinking mode, click on thinking and then ask your question, have your conversation. And ChatGPT is going to be a whole lot slower, but the intelligence is going to be infinitely better. It's going to give you a lot more intelligent results, more customized results. So those are the first kind of three modes I want you to understand. You got auto, you got instant, and you've got thinking, the different variations of the model. A couple other options you can see here right here on the screen on the top right. You have a temporary chat option, which doesn't save the history. If you want to talk about something privately, you're on a shared account, you can use the private or temporary chat option so it doesn't remember itself and you can't even find it in your own history. Okay. When I say history here on the top left, if I click on this here, open up my sidebar, I can see the history of my past chats. Okay. Close it back up. And then lastly, here on the top right, let me go back to normal mode. There is a group chat option, which if you wanted to have a conversation or say plan an event, plan a conference, and use ChatGPT with other people, you can start a group chat and then you could invite other people in ChatGPT all in the same thread, talking and planning your event. Okay, so those right there are five different options: auto, instant, thinking, you got group conversations, and you have the temporary chat. Next, also that's pretty apparent right on the front, there's two different ways to use your voice. One is dictation mode, where if I click dictation, I talk to it, and everything I say gets translated into text. And then the text is what you would use to post it. And the response, of course, is going to be text back. Or I can click on this option, which is voice mode, where not only I'm speaking in my voice, ChatGPT speaks back to me with its voice. So you can have like a dialogue and a conversation about whatever it is that you're looking for. Okay. So those are all the basic modes and basic features that you can switch that are kind of apparent right here on the main screen. Now let's shift a bit. There's some more kind of advanced modes. So when you're talking to ChatGPT, you hit the plus symbol, and a couple advanced things that are very practical would be deep research is when you're talking to ChatGPT, and when it tries to figure out the answer to your question, it's going to research other websites, other thought leaders, other citations, and it will give you the sources and the citations of where it got the information from. So deep research is great for, as you can imagine, deep research, researching clients, researching prospects, researching jobs, researching, I don't know, stock information, and you want the third party sources to be used. Okay, you can see here by default with deep research, it's going to include web search, so it's searching other websites as well. And let me close this up. The next mode, it's kind of more advanced. Again, right here, you can either type the plus sign or you can do the forward slash. There's a shopping research. I'll get into create images and a different topic on kind of creatively just creating different types of media other than just text. But I want to highlight agent mode. Agent mode is when ChatGPT opens up kind of its own internal computer, its own web browser to to browse and look for things. Imagine, I think some of those, I mean, the way they promote it is to say ChatGPT can log into websites, order food, order groceries, book flights. I don't know about all that, but the basic thing I find is more practical is something like filling out spreadsheets, doing data entry, things that aren't completely deal with privacy and security, but just grunt work that you may want ChatGPT to do for you. And actually, I did one example earlier. I'll just jump into that real quick. And that was I was doing some research. Imagine you wanted to research some companies. I said, find me five recruiting companies in Phoenix. So just a basic search or ChatGPT in general is going to do some research and find these five companies. But what if I wanted to put that into a spreadsheet? So I created a Google sheet and then I pasted the sheet right here and said, okay, please copy these companies into this spreadsheet. And you can see here it worked for 56 seconds. And then it put the information, actually, see, first, it tried to log in to the spreadsheet and it told me it couldn't. And then I updated the permissions. And then you can see here a kind of a preview of the computer screen, its own internal computer that it used to do the data entry. And say, I've added five recruiting companies on the spreadsheet. So if I click here, you can kind of see the its own internal computer screen, its own internal browser, and what it was doing. And you can kind of watch what it did in order, again, for quality assurance. They call it being human in a loop, making sure ChatGPT did exactly what you wanted it to do. But that is what agent mode is. It's its own internet browser that clicks on buttons, goes to websites, fills out forms, kind of does task management for you. So I don't know what you need that for, but you can imagine now that you know that you have that option, you can do a lot of different things. Okay, let me go back to a new screen. What's the next mode? The next mode in here is Canvas. So Canvas is a mode that originally was really cool. When you're creating articles, I can say create an article on Black Wall Street in Tulsa. So it's one thing to create an article and you can, give you some text, which is normal. And then you can have a conversation with ChatGPT in order to iterate it and make changes. I'm going to stop it here. I should have made it shorter. Now I'm going to say, oh, I think the three dots can do it. Nope. I'm going to say, open this article in Canvas. So Canvas, again, is a way to kind of split your screen in half where you can see on one side is the document that you're working on, and on the other side is the conversation you're having in ChatGPT. So if I click edit, and now we've got Canvas on the right, and we have our article here. Okay, can you create a summary? I say read, make this shorter, like a summary paragraph. So now again on the left side, I am having my conversation. On the right side, it's kind of like the final document, right? And also in the Canvas view, I can do a little bit of editing. Let me see. I don't see the old editing options that I used to have. Oh, here, at the bottom right. So the bottom right, ChatGPT can make recommendations on edits. ChatGPT can say, do you want to adjust the length? Do you want to change the reading level from, a high schooler to an adult to a PhD student to a fifth grader? You can also add some polish. You can also add emojis. So again, I'm going to have ChatGPT make suggestions on how would you want to edit this. But the main thing it's this split screen view where you have some built-in tools on the right and you can have your normal chat conversation on the left and you can go through it in that sense. You can kind of see what it did here. It made some recommendations. You can apply it. So it's little bit more of an interactive style format for making edits on articles and text. Okay. So that is how Canvas mode works. Okay. So this more advanced aspect using ChatGPT, the most practical ones are deep research, using Canvas, and then also agent mode. I think are I put them in their own category. You see, there's a shopping option. It looks like a little buggy here. You've got some study and notes, education. Again, some of these things I think are not as practical, so I'm not going to get into these other options. There's the shopping research. Okay. I just wanted to cover those three. Now, let's move beyond text. I'm going to open up a new conversation. One of the things that we kind of know with ChatGPT, you can create images. You can either say, design a logo for Black Wall Street. You can just say the word design, or again, you can hit the plus symbol and you can say create an image. So it's more explicitly knowing exactly what you want it to do because you put it in image mode and you've got these built-in styles. Because when you're designing stuff in ChatGPT or any AI model, you might not know the right language, the right prompt to make sure your images look different. So they're adding more and more features so that you can see here, I can have these different styles of images. So it kind of gives you anime, dramatic headshot, retro cartoon, synthwave, Art Nouveau, 80s glam. So you can kind of learn from this language how to prompt um, things differently because you need the language to understand so that it can create something different. So that's the image editing option when it comes to creating content. But you can also create, design a, PowerPoint presentation on Black Wall Street. All right. So now you've got the fact that they can make pretty much you can make a PowerPoint. A lot of the things that you can imagine that are in like Microsoft Word or Google Docs as a company who uses AI for their office, for the day-to-day jobs of a person, of a professional creator or office worker, all those features are being added into ChatGPT. So you can make a PowerPoint presentation. I'm gonna say just one slide with a logo of Black Wall Street. So again, you can say create a PowerPoint presentation and it understands that. Da, 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 da. So now it's look like it's just giving me the text overview of what we asked. Do you want me to generate a logo? Generate yes. So C, right? Do you want the logo? Do you want a PowerPoint file or do you want both? So I'm just going to say do both. So it's going to take its time, create the logo. Then after it creates the logo, it's going to create a PowerPoint file. Okay. Create another image while you wait. You can now ask ChatGPT to make multiple images at one time. Love that. So now we got when it comes to creating things other than text in ChatGPT, you can do images, you can do PowerPoint files, and technically you could also do like Google Docs. You can say turn this text into a Google Doc or a PDF file, and you can also say create a spreadsheet, create a spreadsheet. So again, when I showed you earlier, let me go back to my conversation when it came to recruiting companies. We first researched the five companies, and then I already created a Google Sheet separately, and then I had it put the spreadsheet into the Google Sheet here. And then if I say find five more recruiting companies, again, I don't need agent. I just wanted to do his basic research to find five more recruiting companies. And then I can say in this conversation, create your own spreadsheet, create your own CSV file of these businesses listed as well. So we're going to go through, allow it to create and do its research on five companies. Can I say create a CSV or Google Sheet of all the 10 companies? So the main thing is that in ChatGPT natively, it can on its own create a spreadsheet or create a CSV of the data that it collected. So we will let it do its thing and it is thinking. Give it a little patience, allow it to do. Or we can jump over and we can check out the image and the PowerPoint file that it created earlier. Just let me jump over here. Now we see it created an image. Again, we didn't tell it what style to use. So this is going to be a JPEG or a PNG file. Perfect. It looks like it stopped. So I'm going to just tell it now create, now turn this image into a PPTX file. So now again, I want it to be a PowerPoint file. So if again, if you had 5 or 10 pages or you do some research, you can create multiple slides of a PowerPoint presentation if you need that. Just to keep things quick, I'm going to keep it easy here. There it is. It turned it into a PowerPoint formatted file. So that is how that works. You can see here, recruiting companies, that just got done. Let me go back into that conversation. And now we see there is a CSV file of all the information of these recruiting companies. Okay, so there you go. We've got for outside of text, GPT can create spreadsheets or CSV files, PowerPoint files, and images. Now let's go into, we've got 3 more things we want to cover. One is how do you organize your conversations and what's the difference in the ways you can kind of section off what you're doing. So there's 2 main things when it comes to organizing your information. There's projects and then there's GPTs. Again, I'm not going to go into depth of how this works, but I just want to give you kind of an overview. Projects are like folders of chats and images and files and conversations. It keeps everything you've been talking about all in one section. And you can give it a instructions. You can kind of not just give a label for the project, but you give instructions so that ChatGPT knows this entire folder or project is all around these sort of topics. So therefore, when you're having conversations with ChatGPT, it kind of understands your main goal, your subject matter. So imagine you could create a project for your job. So this can be your data analysis or your marketing director job role. And you could say, this is my job, this is my job description, these are my goals, this is what I do for a week. And you continue to go into that project and get advice and get optimizations, get new strategies, get new things to do, all as it relates to that project, as far as your project being your job. Or it could be a specific project within your job. So you could be I'm planning something for a conference. I got a conference coming up. So this is my conference strategy project. This is what I'm planning on doing. These are the people I want to meet. These are the meetings I have booked. This is my planning. This is my agenda. This is my flight, my itinerary. This is going to be my hotel. So you can put all those things. But it's a way to organize a collection of conversations and chats and files and resources on a particular topic, right? That is a project. Separately, you've got GPTs, which you can see here on the left. There are GPTs. I have my one main GPT, which is the craft personal insightful emails and posts, right? This is the RVL email GPT. So it's not a project. There's no history of past usages of this GPT. This is a one-time fine-tuned and trained tool that does one thing or 2 things very specific. This GPT is trained to create emails mimicking and mirroring my values of writing, my style of writing, things like that. So you see, I have 2 buttons: create a story email or create a Substack article. So that's what GPTs are. They are very specifically trained things. There's not a history of them. There's not a background. It's just um, specific tools that do specific things. So you can create your own. At the top right, it says create. You can create your own GPTs, or you can go through this whole library, an archive of other GPTs that are available, created by other people, and you can use them for very specific, finely tuned, narrow tasks. Okay. So you got GPTs, which are more tasks type of things that you want to use that are trained AI usages, and then you got projects, which is your more organized folder of topics. Okay, the last 2 things we want to cover is personalization and then miscellaneous. I'm going to jump into miscellaneous first. And the miscellaneous other aspects of ChatGPT, just to realize I am on a website. You can also use ChatGPT on your cell phone as a mobile app. You can also use ChatGPT on your computer as a desktop app. So I think on mine, the shortcut key is it up? It may not be on. Yeah, so you can see here, I can hit Option and spacebar on my Mac, and it automatically brings up this desktop version of ChatGPT, where depending on what I'm doing, I can simply go here. I can grab a screenshot of what's on my computer screen, and I can kind of take a picture and automatically bring that into the conversation, then I can have a conversation with ChatGPT about what I'm seeing on my computer screen, which is a very powerful feature, especially if you're needing help using and managing some type of software, Salesforce, Zoho, using HubSpot, you're using some spreadsheet, and you're trying to figure out the formula. You can just take a screenshot and have a conversation with ChatGPT via the desktop app about what you're seeing. But the third thing you can use, so we got mobile, we have a desktop app, and there's also a Chat GPT browser. So it's called Atlas. It's ChatGPT. Instead of using Chrome or Safari or Edge or whatever web browser, you can use Atlas, which is a way to blend your Google search, your web search, whatever you're doing online with ChatGPT being built into the browser, and it can pretty much is a quicker way to interact with ChatGPT while you're doing what you're doing already on the computer. Okay, so those are like the miscellaneous aspects of using ChatGPT, those other modes other than the website. And the last thing I want to cover is personalization. There's a lots of different ways you can personalize your experience with ChatGPT. The basic options, I'm going to click here in the bottom left with my name. You've got personalization. So you got custom instructions, which is going to be, again, how do you want ChatGPT to talk and interact with you? Just whatever, you can Google and look more into custom instructions. You also have the personalization aspect, which is kind of a newer feature, style and tone. I have it set for just being candid with me, but you can make all these other kind of features and personalize it. It can be concise, it can be warm, it can be enthusiastic. You can deal with how the text is headers and lists. So all these other ways you can personalize your experience. You can tell ChatGPT who you are, what you do for a living, and more things about you, your values. I use my values, my Christian values, things like that are built into it. So that controls how it speaks. And then its own memory. You can turn on memory so it can remember your past conversations. And even while you're talking to ChatGPT, you can say, remember this, make note of this, so it can continue to remember what you care about as things change, as things evolve. These personalization aspects definitely influence the way it speaks back to you and the way it makes recommendations. Okay. And then lastly, I'll say there are apps and connectors that you can use to personalize your experience. I have ChatGPT connected to my Gmail, my Google Calendar, and my Google Drive. I think I've got it connected to Canva as well, which I use for presentations and different social media, things like that. But there are all these other apps, which if you use them in your job, you can interact or integrate them in your conversation with ChatGPT, and it can enhance the experience that you have. Of course, you have to understand your own kind of privacy policies and security concerns, and be careful with what you use. But just wanted to show you there when you connect these different tools in ChatGPT while you're having a conversation. You kind of saw that earlier. You can reference some of those things. So I just have Canva, and I don't know what this is. It's kind of buggy, but I can reference Canva and what I'm doing, and I can have ChatGPT create images and slides and things like that using my Canva account, using this connection. Okay. So that is it. That is kind of a nice overview of, let's say, the top 20 different features and settings in ChatGPT. And if you got specific questions on how to use any of these things specifically, I would highly encourage you to have a conversation with ChatGPT about how to get more use and benefit from either one of these features or settings as it relates to your goal or your job. All right. Hope that helps you. And I will talk to you later. Create a great day. Bye.